What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Fatboyz Dynasty podcast presented by the Fantasyholics Podcast Network. I would say live on the Fantasyholics YouTube network, but we're not this week. We had to scheduling conflicts. We were able to get together this week, but we weren't able to do it live together this week. Different day, had to be recorded. By the time you guys see this, it's the normal day, but things had to happen in order for Brant and I to get together, and it's been too long because we've done that on a Wednesday night episode, so we had to make sure that happened this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a trade deadline. So it was a good day to get together. We had some crazy trades that happened. We had some big injuries that happened this past week too. So it's a good day. We wanted to make sure we definitely get together, hash out some of these trades this week. We will be live Sunday together. Don't think we're going to abandon you guys that easily. We will be live on Sunday morning with you guys for all your start sits.
I'll be half here.
Yeah, he'll be here, but his eyes will be up at the TV like mine are half the time. He'll be watching his Falcons play overseas. It should be a pretty good game over there on Sunday morning. You guys shook your head, but you guys you did pretty good against New England. Everybody thought it'd be a whooping.
We're getting ready to talk about this team just here in a second, so that we play Sunday morning. So what involved in probably the craziest deadline deal of them all.
Absolutely, they were. That was crazy. They said, "Hey, we're all in." And honestly, going over there right after this trade he may sit a week. We'll see.
I doubt it, but here's hoping, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say temper expectations with Drake London this week. Sauce is that good. So,
yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it. I feel like it's worth starting, Brant, because obviously one of our two teams was active today. You guys traded for Rashid Shaheed. You guys gave up a 4th and a 5th round pick to the Saints. What's your thoughts on that one, first and foremost?
I love we didn't give up much. We added a little depth to the room. In my mind, what it's going to do is it's reunited with Kubiak and Shaheed as he was with them last year in New Orleans. I think it opens up the downfield a little bit more. We saw that this week, this past week on Monday night as they opened it up. And I think Horton, don't go run into your waivers to pick him up this week. I think that this is going to be his spot. Cooper Kupp still not startable. I think it's a slight, very, very, very slight downtick for JSN. What I do think it's going to help is actually our running game is we'll open the field up a little bit more. He'll stretch a little bit more, and maybe we'll have some more explosive runs rather than those 2, 3, 5-yard carries. I think it's a big upgrade for Darnold. He's looked phenomenal hitting the downfield passes this year. So I do think it's a big upgrade for him. Shaheed is a guy that I'd be stashing. He could be flex consideration. And like I said, I love that what we gave up for him. It wasn't much. It's enough to say, hey, we still, we want an upgrade on the offense. So let's go get another receiver. And like I said, it'll be a downgrade for Horton. And, Kupp is still not going to be fantasy relevant anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this one came across and I'm in some training this week, so I have my phone, whereas we normally don't with the jobs you and I typically have. So I was getting this information as it was breaking, and honestly, this one was a head scratcher to me. Not because it doesn't fit, but it was like I just watched the Sunday night game, and it's like. That's the one thing you guys are good in all 3 phases, but it was like that. I didn't think wide receiver was an issue at all. I mean, you had 2 guys make their first touchdown catch this weekend, and Horton showed out as well. So I mean, I was shocked.
I think what it is it should stop us from calling up every single week. We've called up one for the practice squad. This past week with Cooper Kupp missing, we called up both Whites from the practice squad. One did get his first touchdown, and so I think that's all it's going to be is maybe we'll keep consistent four receivers consistently on the roster without having to call somebody up every single week. And I think that's really about it. They just wanted to add some depth to the wide receiver. I would have loved to see a couple more moves for us. But I'm happy with what they did for football. For fantasy, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. Maybe gives Darnold another downfield weapon.
Yeah, I will say if anybody that benefits from this outside of Darnold, I think it's a big boost for Rashid Shaheed. It's a better quarterback situation than what he was leaving. Similar volume, I think, because JSN's going to get the targets the same way Chris Olave was. It's just going to be better thrown balls in his direction. So I think if you were playing Rashid Shaheed when he was in New Orleans, you're definitely playing him in Seattle. Probably a little more comfortable, even. So,
I think where the
facet of that.
Where the major boost is going to come in is was it Devon Vele, the one that New Orleans traded for earlier? I think it may be off season. I think he's going to slide right into that wide receiver 2 spot. I think this is a huge boost for him. I think he's definitely a stash, young enough guy. And Juwan Johnson should be getting a bigger boost. Vele's only 27. So yeah, I think those are the two that are going to actually benefit it the most from either team is going to be Vele and Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. That's fair. That's definitely fair. Obviously, I think Chris Olave stays pretty relevant as well, all things considered. So let's talk about the biggest one of the day. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts. The Jets get, 2 first and then Adonai Mitchell back in return. Huge haul.
Yeah, huge haul for Indianapolis. This already solidifies the defense that had that was the worst thing was their pass defense was the worst of every phase that they had going this year. I know they didn't look great this past week, but the pass defense was the worst thing that they had going. And they went in and said, okay, well, we're going to go get the best or one of the best corners in the NFL and add him. And I love the Adonai Mitchell going over to the Jets. He should slide right into that wide receiver 2 spot. Still don't trust their quarterback to make them relevant this year, but I do absolutely love that they went out and they're like, hey, give us another young target to pair with Garrett Wilson, especially when, we're going to sell our entire defense that was already, losing games on both offense and defense. And now that defense is going to be pretty bad, I would assume. And so they'll have to play from behind, and they don't have the quarterback to play from behind, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say I like the move for Adonai Mitchell just because of how much I like Adonai Mitchell. I don't like it this year for him because I don't trust Justin Fields at all. Honestly, if anything, I hate these trades for Garrett Wilson, and I hate it for Breece Hall because both those guys could have gone to and gone on to somewhere that their early part of their careers weren't getting wasted. So good get for the Colts. And I see the vision the Jets are going for. It just stinks that, for the rest of this season and particularly next season, we don't really know what to expect from that offense. And it's almost, even though Breece Hall's great and even though Garrett Wilson's great, can you really touch him at this point? So I think, verdict's still out on that. We'll have to wait and see what it looks like the rest of the season. But if quarterback play doesn't improve immensely, I think I'm pretty well out on all things New York Jets.
Definitely am now. And because that defense was helping keep them around in a lot of games, that made Breece Hall just a little bit more fantasy relevant because they were able to still run the ball with him. And now you gave away one of your best run stoppers and your best defender. That's going to be really tough to come back from.
Okay. All right. The other one I think that's worth talking about, I know you've got a couple more, but for a fantasy standpoint, the Jags trading and getting Jacoby Myers from the Las Vegas Raiders. And then it comes out and says Brian Thomas Jr. is potentially going to miss this week. Travis Hunter's not as hurt as we initially feared. Whole lot of weird stuff going on down there in Jacksonville. But the Raiders, honestly, I think they got a steal of a deal in Jacoby Myers. And granted, I know he's under contract for only the rest of the season, but a 4th and a 6th rounder for him feels almost free, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Them sending the 4th and the 6th, you get. I think they took on a lot of the contract as well. But yeah, I think that's great for you get the guy out of there that was disgruntled. There's going to be a huge boost for Brock Bowers that already came out as he was healthy this week, and you saw how well he did. And then you have all the young ones there, Beck and Thornton, and I'm missing one, Tucker. Those guys, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle on who's going to be the number 2 pass catcher there now with Jacoby gone, because Bowers would be the number 1. So it's going to be a battle and see over the next couple of weeks. And honestly, I would go stash one of those guys, the one that you feel more comfortable with. I would go stash one and hope that's the one that hits because they're going to be playing from behind. That defense isn't anything great. And with Pete and Gino, they're going to try to at least be competitive and throw the ball. They're not just going to wave the white flag in every single game. So that they'll still be competitive. Myers he's going to go into a role. I think what it is you got to temper expectations on Parker Washington after the 2 good weeks that he had. I'm not running out and spending my fab budget on him anymore. So now I think Parker's going to have a good 2 weeks, but then as soon as Myers gets his feet wet in that offense, I think he takes over that role pretty nicely.
Yeah, and realistically, I think at this point, Jacoby Myers is what he is. He's flex play potential based on matchups. So maybe somewhat of an uptick for Trevor Lawrence, but the rest of it's just kind of a moot point in my mind.
Yeah, I do like it for Trevor. He gets another guy that's pretty reliable over the middle, and he's not going to turn in huge plays, but he's going to be a reliable guy, especially with Brenton Strange on IR there. So it should help him out over the middle and should open the offense up a little bit more.
Okay. Are there any of the others? I know there were some other big trades today, but are there any others you really need to talk about for fantasy relevancy? Maybe Trevor Penning.
Yeah, that's the last one I do have on there. I have Penning going to the Chargers with them missing Alt and the other offensive tackle. Penning going there should help keep Justin Herbert upright a little bit more, should help that run game a little bit more as they were getting banged up on the line like they always do. It seems like every single year the Chargers end up losing linemen everywhere. And that's unfortunate because they do have great linemen there. They just can't stay healthy. I do think that this is an uptick for that offense a little bit. It's going to keep them upright and let that offense still click like it had been earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think it's a panic move and result to the Joe Alt injury for sure. I think Penning's probably a tick down on Alt, but obviously a tick higher than what was there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the move. So I don't know if I have a ton of expectations of it improving anything, but it definitely hopefully doesn't make it too much worse than what it was, and Herbert can continue his good season. So I know we also wanted to touch base on. Go ahead, Brent. Do you have something else you want to add there?
I was just going to touch base on the 2 injuries that really should be shocking. You got Daniels out for the year, Jaden Daniels. Mariota is coming in, and you know firsthand that's a downgrade for everything in that offense. That's a downgrade for Washington altogether. Not even sure, and I was watching that game. I really have no idea why Daniels was still in that game. It was out of reach. I know he told Dan that, hey, I want to continue to play, get my reps back up since he had been missing some time. Unfortunately, now you're missing the rest of the year because that was a gruesome injury. Don't trust Washington. I don't trust anything there. I don't trust Mariota. He may have a good week here and there. He does have decent weapons in Debo and Terry McLaurin that could help him be a QB2 in your super flex leagues, especially if you were panicking on quarterbacks. You've been holding on to Mariota. He at least should get you 10 to 15 points a week because he does have good weapons there. And then go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, I'm on all things Washington. I'm just putting it on the bottom of my roster and saying, wait till next year at this point.
Yeah. And then Tucker Kraft going down. That one's huge, missing the season. Musgrave is probably going to fill that void, but we've already had the carousel of Green Bay pass catchers, and now it's really going to be a carousel because for a little bit, Kraft was the most consistent thing there, and now we don't know what it's going to be. So Musgrave, I think, gets an uptick. He's definitely worth a roster spot and keep a stash on. I don't know if I'm throwing him in right away, but those 2 big injuries are huge in the fantasy world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did have one more I wanted to add too, and that's Jacoby Brissett being the starter for what looks to be the rest of the season in Arizona with Kyler Murray's potential soft tissue injury, I believe it was. And honestly, how great is that for fantasy football after watching, granted it was against the Dallas Cowboys. So, we temper expectations moving forward a little bit, but completing 21 out of 31 passes, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, added a rushing touchdown. And then for the first time all season, we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride coexist. Marvin Harrison Jr., 10 targets, 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Trey McBride, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Both players were able to eat. It was good to see the Cardinals offense look somewhat capable, almost even. Granted, it was the atrocious defense that is Dallas. I think they play you guys this week, if I'm not mistaken, I believe.
They play Arizona and Seattle this week. Divisional matchup, so it'll be a grind out one. Just like this one.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm tampering it. I'm not expecting that same thing, but I think it does. I said it on the Sunday morning cast. I'm much more interested in Marvin Harrison Jr. with Jacoby Brissett under center than I am with Kyler Murray. So for me, Marvin Harrison Jr. has some flex play right now, whereas before it was like I can't trust him to put him in my lineup.
Right. Yeah. I honestly was surprised we didn't see Kyler's name come across. I didn't realize the injury was that bad. But that's honestly after they named that prior to the whole countdown today, I thought we were going to see him on the move and you know, but you know, when you're hurt, nobody wants you anyways, because that's what they need you for, is to fill in. I thought maybe we could see him go to Washington. But yeah, I definitely like this Arizona Cardinals offense a little bit better. And it looks like they might be getting Trey Benson back this week as well.
Yeah, I did hear that as well. There's some rumblings they're going to see what he can do in practice. So that could be a shot in the arm. That run game didn't look too bad with Emil Diamarcado this week. Everybody thought it was a Bam Knight week, and here we go. Right now it's a guess game. I don't want to play in Arizona there either. So
no, I sure don't either. I played Knight in about 3 leagues, and it did not pay off.
I did want to bring up one last thing, Brant, that honestly I was kind of shocked you didn't want to talk about on the show, and I just want to hear you say his last name again. But how good was the new Chicago Bears running back, Kyle
Monangai? I ran into him in 4 leagues. I counted it. I ran into him in 4 leagues this week.
74% snap share, 26 carries, 176 rush yards, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 22 receptions.
Congratulations, Chicago. You now have the backfield like Seattle. Who to trust each week?
I think I'm feeding the hot hand. And if I've got Kyle Monangai, I'm firing him up again next week if I'm a fantasy owner.
But once again, Ben Johnson's your coach, and he made 2 backs very relevant up there in Detroit. So it very well could happen again.
Also, tip of the cap to everybody who listened to the Fatboyz and played Rico. He was one of the most asked players on our Sunday morning start last week, and he was fantastic as well last week. I look for that to continue all season in Carolina. So those of you that were able to go acquire him or pick him up off waivers, you've got yourself a potential league winner there. So well done.
Yeah, I already made the switch for next week since I forgot to this week. Not that it would have mattered in the slaughter fest where I had DK Metcalf and Roma Dunze starting.
Which I want to ask, I'm going to put you on the hot spot right now. I didn't realize it's been but it's not been great for Rome the last 2 or 3 weeks. But the Bears put up 47 points and Roma Dunze is nowhere to be seen. I mean, is that a little concerning as a Rome owner?
Not really. I mean, last week he was wide receiver 8 against Baltimore.
So was it 2 weeks prior then?
Yes, yeah. 2 weeks prior against Washington and New Orleans. He did have 6 and 5 targets. He did have 3 targets. Honestly, it is a little concerning. But it was what was it? Zacchaeus was the one going nuts, and then DJ Moore. But you were missing Luther Burden. A little worried, but I think it's more game script. Ben Johnson's just more of a game script guy. You're going to have to look you're going to have to kind of deep dive into those pass catchers each and every week. And it is going to be a little concerning. I think you got to temper expectations. I don't think he's in the wide receiver 1 category that he was at the beginning of the year. Maybe 2, and maybe just flex consideration every single week. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this with big name wide receivers, a couple years ago, Mike Evans, but just out there and we've seen it before. I'm not too concerned about it, but I'm tempering all expectations for him.
Okay. All right. That's just one I wanted to hit on real quick as you brought his name up there. So let's get into these underdog plays for this Thursday. We've got a contest of a divisional matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders, the Jacoby Meyer-less Las Vegas Raiders. So let's talk about it on the other side of the video. All right, Brant, this is another underdog one that I just really felt like I struggled with it a little bit here. So maybe you've got some stuff you love a little bit more than I do. I've got one that I like a lot, one that I'm okay with, and one that I'm hopeful of. But let's hear yours.
I put 3 legs in and I threw $1 on it because I do not like this matchup at all.
Okay.
At all. Originally, I had 3 from the same team, and Underdog told me I needed somebody else from at least the second team. I got Brock Bowers to go higher than 66.5 receiving yards. About the only good target there. He'll be moved all over. They'll try to force the ball to him. I got Geno Smith to go higher than 214.5 passing yards. I know Denver's got a good defense, but like I said, this defense is gross on the opposite side of the ball. So I think he's going to be forced to throw a lot. And I expect that number to really go up throughout the, for the next 2 days. So I'm going to take the higher while it's still low. And then I got J.K. Dobbins to go higher than 16.5 for his longest rush of the day. Because of how bad this defense is, I think he'll rip at least one good one off. And honestly, that might be my favorite one, is just Dobbins over or higher than 16.5 longest rush. That might be my favorite one.
Okay. All right. I'll save my favorite one that I'm the most confident in for the last. I've got Genty to go higher than 75.5 rushing reception yards. Again, my thought process was he's the most relevant pass catcher outside of Brock Bowers at this point in that offense. Again, playing from behind, I think there's a chance you see some usage for him. I've got Troy Franklin higher than 40.5 receiving yards. Again, pretty much simply because the Raiders' defense is atrocious. And we've kind of seen Troy Franklin be the guy for Bo Nix the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if that continues. And then the one that I did feel the most confident about, Brent, I've got RJ Harvey higher than 20.5 rushing yards total. In the last 3 weeks, he's hit his over in underdog. So I'm going to ride the hot hand, and eventually that train's going to derail. But until it does, I'm there. So
yeah, absolutely. I think he's slowly working his way into a good split, a good amount of carries. And like we said, that offense is so bad, or that defense is so bad for the Raiders that they may end up just running the ball. They both might see 20 carries this week.
It's possible.
Yeah. The Genty one was my third one originally, but then Underdog told me I had to add another player.
Shot when you said you almost had 3 from the same team, I was waiting for you to be like, okay, so what Raider did you finally throw in there? Because it was the opposite for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a bunch of passing for the Raiders is what I like, because
enough.
like I said, they're going to trail.
Fair enough. So I do think that wraps it up for us today. It was a busy day. It's going to be a good rest of the season. We got all day football again back this Sunday, even though Brant and I don't necessarily love it for the purposes of hanging out Sunday morning, but gives us something extra to talk about, right? When the accountants are inevitably a little slow because everybody's watching. But yeah, good to be back together again, even if it was on a different night where we had to get it out.
Yeah, hopefully we can get back to our Wednesdays here shortly. But yeah, that does do it for tonight. Don't forget to join us Sunday morning as we watch the Falcons game live and with all your start sits and food questions. The issue is Bo might be eating early that day.
My fingernails.
Yeah. So, but as always, stay hungry.
Stay fat, my friends.